Welcome everyone to the Mentee training meeting or kickoff training, etc. We are just excited to have so many that are participating in the Product Hive Mentorship program, and mentorship experiences define our careers and a lot. They are so crucial for us, for each individual. So just to kind of give you an idea of the agenda we have for today. So I'm gonna kind of introduce I will introduce the Product Hive Mentorship team. Still working on this talking thing. So we'll present them, and then we'll have our team, what our goals are, so on. We'll have our three presenters. We have an awesome lineup today. Gil Lee, as you see here, he's going to talk to us about just mentoring as a safe place, as implied. We have Ken Frei, as it states here, he's going to talk to us about career perception, and then Logan Williams about mentalities and how to shift it. So, and then at the end, we're going to talk a little bit about success, and then we'll have our questions and answers. So again, we have the chat, so please put in your questions in the chat, and we'll save time for those at the end if they're crucial and the presenter wants to address some of them, then of course they're welcome to. But I'll go ahead and just start off with the Product Hive Mentorship team. So I'm, again, Rudd Hopkins, and along with myself, we have some very talented and dedicated individuals who are helping to make this a huge success for everyone who participates. So a special shout out to Bonnie, as she is the team lead. And of course, Donna and Sean and Doug have done and are doing amazing things to make this run even better every time, every cohort. I wanted to just share quickly, as a Product Hive mentorship team, we have a couple of we'll just say our purpose. I want to just share that quickly. And this helps a lot as you think about your own careers, and of course the point or the experience to have in a mentor-mentee relationship. But for this program, the mentorship program, our purpose, we believe that meaningful connections, passion, and collaboration drive growth that transforms communities and individuals. So again, meaningful connections, passion, and collaboration. Those things are critical to building an individual and a career. And so those are absolutely forefront for our team as we go forward with these cohorts and this program. And so again, I invite you to think about, in your own experience, personally and professionally, how absolutely critical relationships have and are. And so as you go forward, we want to obviously continue to build those. So again, a very, very big shout out to the team, Bonnie, Donna, Sean, and Doug, for doing what you do. There's probably a silent clap going on everywhere. So yeah, we can all get So with, again, the first kind of in the lineup, we have Gil Lee, who well, actually, let me just advance the slide. I can share with you these three. So like I'd said, we have these three individuals, Gil and Ken and Logan, and they're going to obviously take the time to address the things that they have. First up is Gil, and he's been, of course, a long-time member and co-founder of the Product Hive, and actually helped to kick off the first cohort of mentees. And I'm going to go ahead and just turn the time over to Gil to have him, let me stop sharing here. And Gil, you can go ahead and share. But Gil, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you. I might ask you to share the screen. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you. You want me to share for you?
Okay. I'll cue you in, and then we'll go to the 2 slides that I shared.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Rudd. Hi, everyone. Just grateful to be here. You know, it's been a roller coaster of a year. I hope everyone's doing all right. But again, this is a new year. It's super exciting. I'm very optimistic about our future, but especially just Utah in general, kind of where we're going, and just really excited for this team. So wanted to kind of give you a little bit of history around this program. So for those of you that may have been here, we combined 2 product communities here in Utah. And out of those 2 product communities, Product Hive came about. And Product Hive, for the most part, we've been running events for a long, long time. But when we created Product Hive, we wanted to create a program that allowed new and younger product managers and product designers really get a shot at getting help from the community. And we didn't want to just kind of make it too organic. We wanted to organize. And so that first program out of Product Hive, outside of the events, was really this mentorship program, which I ran for a couple of cycles. But I'm happy to report it's now in better hands with Bonnie and Donna and Sean and Doug and Rudd, just that team. Just thank you to the organizers. Thank you for spending the time. I found out that we have over 200 matches in this cycle. So that's really a lot of people devoting their time and effort into this program. So big thank you to everybody. Just super excited to see it grow so much over the years. So I'm going to share just 3 pieces of advice for this group, and then I'll open it up to any questions. I think the way we're going to ask questions is through chat. So within Zoom, if you want to ask me any questions, please do so there. And then I think I just have a few minutes left after I share these pieces of advice. So, all right, let me share 3 things. So number 1, as a mentee, provide lots of context and background to your mentor. Because again, it's really important that they understand you and your situation and your challenges, and really help you. Let them help you as that comes by. So when I say provide lots of context and background to your mentor, that actually means having a good assessment of your skills and to really be honest with who you are and where you are in your career, so they know how to help you. So at Pluralsight, which I spent the last 6 years, I have now have moved on. I left in July, just really taking a sabbatical. But for, when I was at Pluralsight running the product team and then the content team, but after years of running their product team, we spent months together as a team and creating a career development path. So Rudyard or Ben, if you could just move on to the first one. So this is an artifact that we created at Pluralsight. And it really is a great resource for the community. And after this call, I believe either Bonnie or Rudd or Ben will send out the PDFs of these 2 documents that I'm going to share. But the first one here is the Product Manager Career Development Path. And you can see a little bit of date there. It was made about 2 years ago, but it's still very relevant and very useful. So I hope you can take a look at this. And let me just kind of give you some context to this document. the columns indicate different levels that we thought were important to understand to kind of give you kind of a clear path in order to get to a specific skill. The rows on the left indicate the different skills that we thought were important as a product manager. And so you'll see things like, let me just see here, sorry. I can't read it right now, but I apologize for that. This is really outlining the skills of a product manager that we felt were very important. And then it allows you to see what level 1 looked like, and level 2 and level 3 up to level 5, because that maturity is really important for us to assess for the individual. And then if you go to the next slide, this is similar to the product designers as well. The product designers also had their own career development path. Now, we saw, at least as a product team, that there were things that were common between the product manager and product designer, things like communication and leadership and presentation skills. Those are on the back side of both of these documents. And so, again, I'm really excited to share this with all of you. We wanted to just really provide a clear-cut career development path for these 2 roles. Now, you may not agree with all of it. It's totally okay, but at least we have something in writing and you can use them. And the way we use them, again, as you're assessing this, is we kind of just use it to just circle with the mentor or with the leader and just saying, hey, here's where I think I am. And then circle the other one of like where you want to go, what you want to build on next. So that's advice number 1. Providing lots of context and background in an understandable way between you and the mentor, so they know where you need to go next. So, second piece of advice, state your goals. It's good to have a relationship with a mentor. That's number 1. But really, the goal of the mentorship program is to help you work towards something. And is it improving a skill? Is it a leadership experience that you'd like to have? You know, is there a position or role in your mind that you'd like to work towards? Is it being a manager? Is it being a chief product officer? All those things are super, super important as you state those goals. And then the last thing that sometimes gets forgotten is a timeline. You know, if you really are trying to achieve a goal, it'd be great to state a timeline of where you want to be. Hey, I want to be a chief product officer in 3 years, right? Or 2 years, or whatever it is. It'd be helpful because then it can help you plan that a little bit better. I just don't think enough of us are really planning our careers as serious as it should be taken. So anyway, state your goals. That's advice number 2. All right, the last thing is advice number 3, which is very, very important. You need to create a safe place between you and your mentor. And this is just really basic, but it's important to ask things to be kept confidentially, because confidentiality and privacy really creates a space to openly share your struggles and your challenges, and to really have that respect for whatever that you're sharing. And it's a 2-way street, meaning whatever is shared with you by the mentor and is also needs to also be confidential and private, never to be tweeted, never to be posted or anything like that, unless it's with permission, because that just creates a place. I just know there are people that I can trust, there are people that I can talk to, And it just helps me grow as a person in my career, what I want to do next, all those things. So again, just wanted to share that with you. Just again, 3 pieces of advice. Provide lots of context and background to your mentor by assessing your skills using this or any other career development path that you have. Number 2 is really stating your goals. And then 3 is creating a safe place for confidentiality and privacy. So anyway, I'm out of time. Thanks, everybody. I'll try and answer the questions in the chat so I can turn the time to Rudd and Ken next. Thanks, Rudd.
Yes, thank you so much, Gil. Let me, okay, so we're gonna move on to, and thank you again, Gil, for that advice. That's critical. So we're gonna have, next up is Ken, and I'm going to, sorry, Ken, I'm just looking at sharing here. So we have Ken, and I'll go ahead and just turn the time over to you. And yeah, thanks so much for preparing to be here. And let me give you back controls.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to chat. I mean, you can see about me there. I've been in product for several years now. I've done the entrepreneurship thing. Outside of work, I like triathlon. That's kind of my big thing right now. And I'm a dad of 3 girls. So that's my bio. My current role is I'm the head of the parent experience at Prenda. So Prenda is pioneering the micro school movement in K-8 education. And so we're building some really exciting stuff, and it's been a really fun journey so far. So yeah, what I was going to talk about today is this idea of career perception versus reality. And when I talk about that, what I really mean is the perception that we have of ourselves, and also the perception that others have of us, and what reality is. And I'll kind of get to the punchline here towards the end. I'm actually going to tell a story, though, about Gil. And it's funny because I'm going to break one of the rules that he just said. So Gil, this is me asking for permission to share something that you and I had talked about. I promise there's no bad details here. So
I get it. Let's go.
So prior to Prenda, I was at Pluralsight, and I've been at Pluralsight for about the last 5 years prior to Prenda. And so I've worked with Gil very closely, and he's been a friend and a mentor of mine, and also one of my bosses there. So the story I wanted to share was hopefully something that each of you can learn from as you think about getting mentors for yourself. So to paint the picture, like at Pluralsight, I was one of the first 6 or 7 product managers there. I don't remember exactly, but we had a relatively small team. And over the course of 5 years that I was there, we grew to I mean, dozens of product managers. And initially what was like a very flat organization started to like become not quite as flat. And so like some of the, like initially it was Nate Walkingshaw and Gil, and then a couple leaders and all the product people. And some all of a sudden some additional product leaders started to get hired from some of those or promoted, I guess I should say, from among like that group of product managers. And I remember thinking like, I want to be a product leader. And not only do I want to be, like, I think I can do it. Like, I feel like I'm capable of it, and I have the skills, I have the talent, I have, I mean, all the stuff that you might need to like fill one of those roles. And I was wanting to see growth in my career. And as a few of those roles opened up, like initially I didn't get any of them. In fact, not only did I not get them, I didn't really feel like I was considered for them. And so at the time, like Gil was the head of product. And so I remember meeting with him, and Gil, I'm actually curious like how much of this you remember, if you view the story the same way. So maybe Gil will correct me after this that he saw it totally differently. But I remember meeting with him, and I remember sort of stating the intention, like, hey, I want to grow in my career. And we were having kind of a conversation back and forth. And I remember pushing him a little bit to kind of be honest with me with like how he viewed me as a leader at Pluralsight. And so I remember I asked a very direct question. I said, hey, Gil, like the next time one of these VP of product roles like opens up, would I be on that list of people who you would consider for one of those roles? And the answer he told me was, no, you would not. And I remember I like hearing that was, I wouldn't say painful. I don't even know if it was surprising, but it kind of hit me that like, oh, dang, like I guess I'm not as like highly thought of as I think of myself. And it hurt like a little bit to think about that. And so I remember telling Gil, okay, like, I appreciate the feedback, like, tell me why not. And so he gave me like a few things that he thought, like that he perceived of me in that role, and told me, some areas where he thought that I could improve. And as he told me that, I remember actually having a couple different reactions to that. There were a few things that he said that I completely agreed with. I thought, you know what, I can actually see why he would think that about me, and like how, like where he would evaluate like my level at. And candidly, there was a couple of things that I thought he was totally wrong about. Like I thought, oh, he says like I don't have that skill or that like expertise. And I remember thinking like I do have that. And the thing that I realized like after that conversation, that just kind of gets to the title of my talk or whatever here about career perception versus reality, is that it actually didn't really matter at all what whether everything that Gil perceived about me was true. Because the reality was like that's what he, and it wasn't just him, he and others did perceive that about me, and because they perceived that about me, that was the reality. Like there may have been a few things like I that weren't correct, but like I clearly wasn't doing a good enough job of I know, Gil, I wasn't offended. I'm reading your chatter. There clearly were some things like I wasn't doing a good enough job of demonstrating that I did have those skills. And so in that regard, like he was absolutely right. And I'm really grateful actually to you, Gil, that he was direct and honest with me about his perception of me and like where he viewed me in my career progression. Because by him being honest with me, even though it was probably difficult for him to say like, hey, I know you want one of these roles, but like as of this moment, I wouldn't consider you for that. By him being honest, like that at least gave me a very clear picture of like where I stood, so that I didn't have false expectations. Like, hey, next time this comes around, I'm going to get this role, and then I end up not getting it, and I'm disappointed. So the thing that I asked Gil in that meeting, and beyond, I said, hey, I appreciate the feedback. Like I took some notes of that. I said, I promise I will work on that. And I remember telling him like, here's what I want from you, like as a mentor. I said, can we meet, once a month or something? It was kind of the cadence that we got on. And let me just update you on like where I'm at with my progress. And I remember saying like, I promise that like by the next time that one of these, leadership roles comes around, like I am going to do the work so that you have to consider me for one of those roles. And so that I will be qualified. And like, in our future meetings, I want you to, again, keep being honest with me, that if I'm still not on that level of being considered, that you would tell me. And so he agreed to that. And we started meeting, once a month, and I was updating him. So if you go to the slides aren't that important, actually. You can just leave it here. I'll just talk about it. Because it kind of brings me to like the final point here of things that I think are important for you to do in your mentorship. So number one is have regular meetings with your leader, and also with your desired leader. So, if your leader is in the role that you want to be in, like that's great, but it may be like the place you want to be in your career, like is actually above where your leader is or something, or in a different department or different whatever where you currently are. I think it's really good to start meeting with those folks who are where you want to be, And like Gil said, like make it really clear what your intentions are. You've got to be very crystal clear. So as Gil said, like tell them what you want to do, when you want to do it, and just make that very clear, because people can't help you if they don't know where you're trying to go. The other thing that I would say is like, you don't want to be a burden on those people. So like, it doesn't have to be like too frequent of meetings. You don't have to be meeting every week, or, like when Gil and I were meeting, we were meeting once a month, and some months it wouldn't happen because things were busy, but like, we at least were able to meet regularly. The other thing you want to do is try to find value, like ways to add value to them. So, not only did in my own journey, did I start meeting with Gil and I was trying to like level up, but I also started trying to meet with other leaders. Like I started trying to make my intentions clear to anyone who would listen. So I was talking to Gil, I was talking to Mariah Hay, who some of you know. I was talking to like lots of other people and saying like, here's what I want to do. Like, what feedback do you have for me? I was asking everyone to be as direct and as honest as Gil was. And I started setting up that same cadence of meetings, just saying like, let me keep you updated on where I'm at and what I'm doing. And by doing that, like one of the things that Gil had told me that I could work on was being better at clearly articulating my vision for the product that I was in charge of, and like how I was executing against that vision. And so I was telling other people that, like my other like leaders, like, hey, I need to work on this. Like, can I have opportunities for that? And so eventually, like, I did get an opportunity to every month at Pluralsight, they would have what's called this monthly business review, which is where like Gil and other leaders would present to the executive team on like the plans that were happening, across the company that were important to the strategic direction of the business. And one month, Mariah was going to contribute a lot to this monthly business review, and she had a lot on her plate, and so she had asked me to actually help her do a lot of the work that was going to go be contributed to that meeting. And I ended up doing like writing a lot of stuff there that she used, and then that Gil ended up using, and and she was very grateful, and it kind of gave me like opportunities like that, gave me opportunities to demonstrate my ability to articulate a vision and a strategy. And I guess kind of the ending to the story, although I feel like my story is still going, is that about a year later, Pluralsight continued to evolve, and we had a reorg, and it opened up a lot of opportunities for new leaders at Pluralsight. And Gil came to me at that time, and we talked about it, and I had the opportunity to take a director level role, leading like a much larger team, and responsible for a lot more stuff. And so again, I feel like going through this process and getting that clear feedback allowed me then to eventually get one of those opportunities that I was looking for. So again, the takeaway, like have meetings with your leaders, be clear on your goals and aspirations with anybody who will listen, ask for feedback and follow up on that. And then the last thing I would say is like, publish your work. Like the more you can show people what you're working on and what the results are, that will help them see that you're actually making progress. Because one of the challenges that I was having was, even though I felt like I did have some of those skills that Gil wasn't seeing in me, like I was not doing a good job of like showing him that I had that. So definitely like publish your work so that it shows evidence that you're growing. And then the last bullet I put there is like, occasionally from time to time, you may need to give yourself a totally fresh start by getting a new job somewhere else, by getting a new boss, by whatever. And that's okay. Like sometimes like it's difficult to change people's perception of you. And so like you can get a fresh start. But these are some things I think are really critical to helping the perception of you become the reality that you see in yourself and that you want others to see in you. So that's all. I'm happy to take any questions. And while Gil is on the call, I would say, Gil, thank you again for being a great leader and mentor to me. And you've continued to be that. And thank you for like your honesty and blunt transparency, even though it wasn't always comfortable, because it's helped me grow as a leader and a product person. So that's all. Thanks.
Ken, thank you so very much for sharing. This is just tremendous help and feedback. It's awesome to also obviously hear a real life story of how mentors can be a big part of not just outside of work, but in work. right, that you shared. So thank you a bunch for that. We're going to, there aren't current questions up next. I have some to ask at the end that can help us if there aren't others from the audience. But we're going to shift over next to our next guest. And Logan is just as rad as all the others that have come before, and I don't think anyone will be disappointed. And again, we'll wrap up with all of the presenters and some questions after Logan's presentation. So I'll stop sharing. Logan, you can.
Yeah, Red, feel free to stop me if I start getting choppy or have internet issues. Okay. It's been okay so far, but I'm kind of worried. Okay. Yeah, just in case. Feel free to stop me.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. I do have a bunch of slides that are going to be kind of rapid fire because some really funny and like interesting stuff happened to me this week while I was preparing this for you guys. Rudd, can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
My slides?
Yep, you got it.
Cool. Okay, so shifting your mentality. The first thing I wanted to talk about, the idea for a lot of people that your mentor is going to be your teacher, that you're going to kind of like sit and learn at the feet of your mentor is something that I've learned is just like inaccurate over the past couple years, especially. I think early on, I kind of believed that, and then just dealing with mentors and like solidifying relationships with some of my closest mentors, I've realized that it's a machine, right? Like you get out of it what you put into it. I love this GIF on the right here because if you approach your mentor with like this ball of yarn and it's clear that you haven't touched it, that you haven't like grabbed onto like a single thread that you found on your own or that your mentor maybe handed to you in your initial interactions or in your meetings, it's going to be hard for your mentor to want to keep investing in that relationship without being able to see like, okay, they went like 10 miles in the wrong direction and they got super tangled up, but at least they're trying super hard and they're putting in the effort and they know how to just like grind and like find answers and try. It's a really big part of it. So this huge shift for me, it was, like your mentor is not your teacher. So this week I set out to kind of find like a better analogy and I landed on cooking. My wife and I have been way into the Great British Baking Show. So this relationship between Paul Hollywood and all of the bakers on the Great British Baking Show came to mind. This phrase, I guess, don't come to eat, come to cook, sort of stuck out to me, but I didn't love like the judging sort of aspect of that and like the fear mongering that comes with Paul Hollywood. If you're not familiar with the show, he's like a pretty terrifying dude. So I like the idea of cooking as far as like, like it's experimental and there's this idea of like rapid iteration and feedback loops and testing. I like the idea of you being the chef and bringing stuff to your mentor that you can talk about, that your mentor can kind of taste test with you and say, hey, like you probably wanted to take this out of the oven 10 minutes sooner, or you put too much salt in it. But this just wasn't exactly what I was looking for, probably just because of my complicated relationship with Paul Hollywood. But this is what I set out to do this week, was to find something that I felt like really represented like my relationship with my mentors. So what does this look like in action? I wanted to give you guys a specific example that came up this week, and I wanted to give you like something a little more like tactical that you could actually just like templatize and follow. So what does this look like in action? This week, or this year, I guess, this was right December before 2020 ended. But a friend of mine, his little brother approached me and said, hey, just thought I'd hit you up and see how you've been. I've been on a UX YouTube kick and thought it'd be cool to catch up. Again, no formal request for me to mentor or like teach this person, but Nick just approached me and said, hey, I've been in the kitchen, which I love. Like that's the first thing that he led with is I've been getting myself all tangled up in that yarn. I've been in the kitchen and things are on fire, like doing a lot of the work on my end, and I wanted to just kind of talk to you about it. So over the coming weeks, or the weeks like after that, subsequently, Nick was asking me about podcasts. A week after he asked me about podcasts, I followed up because, again, I'm testing to see if he's putting in the work and if he's pulling his weight and doing his part, which makes me in turn want to really like invest in this relationship. A week after I recommended 3 or 4 different podcasts, he's all over it. He's like, these are the ones that I like. These are the ones that I don't like. And then this third screenshot talks about getting tangled up in like user journeys, which I think is super understandable for a lot of us. And I just love, I love these 3 interactions because you can see him as the mentee just cooking and like bringing stuff to me. And like the 2 of us have been working through a lot of this stuff together. So I asked my network because I have a bunch of like amazing mentors. I've been really lucky to have a lot of really, really solid and like genuine and caring and like kind mentors in my career. But I asked my network, thinking that they would be like the greatest contributors to this presentation, this question. You know, I'm speaking to you guys. What makes a great mentee? What can they do to get the most out of being mentored? One of the first responses I got was actually from Nick. And Nick's doing what he's supposed to do, right? Ken and Gil both talked about this, but just like participating and kind of finding your voice and putting your work out there. Nick didn't really like have much to contribute. He just like quoted Chris Do, which I thought was really cool. But he says, I was in a Q&A yesterday with Chris Do, rewarding your mentors is going above and beyond. And then I just kind of said, attaboy, like, thanks so much for posting. But the next thing I knew, the very next comment was actually from Chris Do. If you don't know who Chris Do is, he's got like 60,000 followers. He's a crazy like influencer in the space of like creativity and entrepreneurialism. And he gave me some crazy good feedback for you guys. This is all on my LinkedIn. We don't have time to like sit and like sift through each of these right now. But Chris Do is echoing exactly what Ken and Gil said to you guys today. Someone who's open-minded and fearless. Ken's story like perfectly illustrates this. Someone that's eager for feedback, a self-starter, figure-outer, anticipates the next steps, and just like get stuff done. And I love Chris's comment here. When I meet someone like this, I want to give as much as I can. I know that my investment of time won't be wasted. Because Nick took the initiative and tagged Chris Do, and Chris Do tagged or commented, and it just like unleashed this awesome LinkedIn storm. I don't want you guys to waste time like reading these, but by the end of it, I had like 40 comments and like almost 13,000 views, which for me is, I think, my most like, I think that's the most engagement I've ever gotten on a LinkedIn post. That wasn't something kind of like intentionally argumentative that I was just trying to like start a storm with. But yeah, feel free to add me on LinkedIn. I can send you guys these slides so you can read through all this because there's some amazing stuff in here. And most importantly, it led me to this like much better analogy that removed Paul Hollywood from the equation. And that was from my new friend, Manpreet Singh. And Manpreet said, I guess a great mentee is one who needs and is looking for a compass and not a map. That was like the most perfect summation of what my personal relationships have been like with my mentors. And you know that Manpreet is legit because he's not only certified once in Salesforce, but 5 times, which is pretty cool, I guess. And then to top it off, I texted Nick and I said, hey, no big deal. You got Chris Do to comment on my post. And he said, he's a homie. That's how you reward your mentor. So kind of like just an interesting, funny story that happened and kind of unfolded like over the past week. But I wanted you guys to see like in action, this is the relationship between mentee and mentor like at its absolute best. I have some general career tips. Like this is something that, again, Ken did such, and Gilbert in talking to the same stuff.
Logan, the audio's going in and out.
Like you guys, can you hear me?
We can. It's just going in and out. If you want. Yep.
Hang on. Maybe I can turn my. No.
We can hear you.
Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, work your tail off. You guys got to understand you're trying to break into an industry. Like if you're new and looking for your first job as a designer or product manager, it just requires so much work, and then the work doesn't stop. And then participate, as you saw from Nick, and then check your ego. If I had to narrow it down, this is going to sound really like trite or contrived. It's going to sound overused. But the one thing in my career that's done more for me than anything else is just being kind. Just do everything you can to just be a genuine like human being and to try to understand those around you. Really quickly, like I did this last poll, what percentage of your job, product manager or designer, would you say is just like diplomacy, persuasion, collaboration, communication, basically just being a human being? Dylan Winspear is a huge advocate for Product Hive and friend of mine. He said 50 to 60%. This is Jeremy Bird, Senior Manager of UX at Target. He said even as a manager, his is 80% plus, but for his individual contributors, even associate level, you should be looking at 50% plus. 75, 90, 75, 95, 80. These are all design and product leaders. Getting their thoughts on this was super insightful, but people are the job, right? So half of your job is about the people you're building products for. The other half is about the people that you're building those products with. So the thing that's done more for me in my career than anything else is just to make sure that if I'm spending half of my time becoming the best designer, I need to make sure that I'm spending the other half becoming the best designer to work with. When people ask me my goals as a designer or like what's given me like moderate success kind of early on, it's just that I've actually never wanted to be the best designer. I've really just done my best to be the best designer to work with. So that's what I got for you guys. Feel free to add me on Product Hive. I'd love to talk to you guys more. I know I busted through my slides. I've got screenshots and things I can share from these conversations that I had this week. But I'm excited for you all and happy to be able to talk to you.
Logan, thank you so much. Those are fantastic points you covered. If you want to go ahead and just undo the screen share and then I'll jump back in. All right, everyone. Again, we're taking questions. I'm just going to round out this session by reiterating what success looks like. So just to see, as I click here and I go through all of Logan's slides.
There are like 1,000.
That was excellent. That was epic. Okay.
I broke every rule of like giving a presentation.
There were minimal bullet points, so absolutely not. I think that was awesome, and the gifts were even better. So what does success look like for you? For you attending as a mentee? Of course, we have some mentors here as well, but what does success look like? Again, we brought this up at the very beginning, and we all need to think about measuring goals. We need to think about what it is that you want to be, as like Gil brought up with those career ladders that we'll share out, and Ken and Logan also iterated too. Where are you going and how are you going to get there? So please take a moment now, or when you connect with your mentor first, have in your mind the goals you want to accomplish. You can't get in anywhere unless you're measuring it. So the other point is, take the initiative. You are and may be a mentor or a mentee, but look for ways to be a mentor yourself. Life experience is not the only requirement to be a mentor. There are so many that don't maybe have any idea of what it means to be a product designer or product manager, and you may be in your first role as that position, and you have so much to share. And this continues on to say, no matter how much experience you have, there's always something to give back. So don't be afraid to jump in and be a mentor yourself. And the last is, we hope that this is a long-term relationship for you and your mentors. I mean, I share part because Gil and Ken have both been mentors for me for 5+ years. And so those relationships, they continue on, and they're invaluable. And you, again, as your career shifts, you move on, you have new challenges to tackle. So do those people that are in your network, your mentors as well. And you not only in that one role, but in many roles, you can learn many different things as you keep track of people and how they grow and progress in their own role, in their profession. So those are just a little bit, please keep those in mind. We're going to jump back into or think about any questions. I'll go ahead and look at what there is up in chat. But if not, I wanted to ask real quick. We have about 5-8 minutes or so, but we don't have to take all the time. But I wanted to ask is directly, I know Logan and Ken, you mentioned this a couple, but for each of you, Gil, Ken, Logan, what do you see as a best first step in a mentee to take for their relationship with their mentor? Maybe even before they connect with them. But what are those best steps to a mentee starting to approach or beginning a first exchange with a mentor? So let's see. I guess, Ken, do you want to chime in? Can you think about that for a sec?
Sure. No, I mean, I feel like I'll just beat the dead horse here, but really I think the best first step is to get clear on what you want help with. I've had a lot of conversations with people over the years who have asked me to like help mentor them in some way. And so usually the first question that I have is like, cool, what do you like, what can I help you with? Or like, what do you want me to do? And the answer sometimes is, I just want to grow. And it's like, okay, grow how? Grow where? Like, it's really difficult to provide useful advice or suggestions or help if there's not a clear outcome in mind. And so even before you reach out to a mentor, I think it's good just to, again, like get clear yourself, like what do I want? You know, when do I want it? And if you don't know the answer to that question, maybe the way to get clear is then to go to a mentor and say, the help I want is actually for you to help me understand what's possible. Like, could we talk about different roles in product or different career trajectories or things that you've seen? Like that could be a good first step, and that at least gives you a clear ask that you're asking for from a mentor. But if you go in and just want to like grow in a very ambiguous sense, like I'll say you'll likely leave frustrated, and your mentor will feel frustrated as well. So yeah, that's it.
Great point, Ken. Great points. Logan, you want to jump in, add anything or reiterate?
No, I mean, just my personal experience has been that exact thing that Ken said. You can't manage what you can't measure, right? So being able to, put like write it down, just start like find the end of some thread and start pulling on it. Like I love that Ken went like a level up and said, well, let's say like the direction is the thing that you need. Like you even need to know that you need direction. So asking those questions and sort of reflecting, I think is step one, researching.
Awesome. And I know, Gil, you wanted us, or we were going to share out those the career ladders you mentioned. Are those, you think, the first things for a mentee to take a look at, or something like those?
Yeah, I think the feedback we've got, people we've shared this with, it's been super helpful. We wrote these in like a first person because it allows you to just really reflect on where you are. And I think it's a great tool. Again, there's a lot of tools out there, but we felt like we couldn't find anything out there that's really speaking to skills that people need to have. And so, yeah, I hope it's helpful.
Awesome.
I'll add a +1 to that. I've personally used that document a lot because I was at Pluralsight with Gil, and I'll say as he shares that out, like, one thing I'd recommend is like go through and evaluate yourself, like what skills you have or not, and that actually can be a good first step for knowing what you do want to get help on. I mean, you could say, "Wow, I'm really strong here, but in this other area, like I don't know how to do it at all." And so then you could literally take the statement that's on that sheet that Gil's going to share out, and go to your mentor and say, hey, I realized that I don't know how to do whatever, research synthesis. Like, can you help me? Like, and that'll be a good thing you can use to start that conversation.
I think another thing that you could do is, sometimes we either underestimate or overestimate our skills. it'd be good to have someone else that you know and trust that could look at that and say, hey, where do you think I am? And so that's another way to use that that career development path.
Great points. Thank you, guys. We have one question that was to effect of Ken, what you had mentioned about demonstrating your progress by publishing your work. There's a question just in case of like, can you give an example of how that worked for you or how it might work for a product manager or designer, etc.? The tool you might use or so forth.
Yeah, so I'm looking at that question as well. I think any of those things you mentioned are great. Like there's not one specific place that I think is better than another. Just really getting in the habit of publishing your work anywhere. So whether it's Dribbble or tweeting out your thoughts or writing a Medium article or whatever, any of those places are good. But the thing the thing to remember about why this is important is let's say you're applying for a job, for example. A lot of times, like people will Google you to see what kind of work you've done before, and if nothing shows up, like there's not a lot of evidence there. And the best evidence that you can do a job is not your resume. It's that you have actually already done the job. Like if I can go in there and see like, wow, they've actually had experience with this, and I can see how they thought about this and work they've done before that was similar to this work. That provides a lot of strong evidence that like me as a hiring manager or something can have confidence in you doing that job. And so even if you don't feel comfortable, like just start publishing it. And that's okay if it sucks at first, but like by publishing it, it puts it out there for people to give you feedback. And this is just like a critical skill to build as like a product person, like always getting feedback. It's the same way as when you like, build your first prototype of a product. It's usually not going to be very good when a customer sees it, but you're kind of doing the same thing with yourself. Like, write the post, post the design on Dribbble or whatever, and just ask for feedback. And that will help people see that you're taking action and that you're making progress. And it will keep providing that feedback loop for you to keep improving as you grow. So it doesn't really matter where, just do it anywhere, I would say.
Awesome. I don't know if Logan or anyone, do you want to add to that as far as demonstrating your work, or where's a good place or how's a good place to track for others to see what you've been up to?
Yeah, it's something I've been studying because I love Ken's story because it sounds like he had all of the tools to like add value, and he was adding value in all the ways that Pluralsight expected, but it just sounds like it just wasn't being like distributed, or he didn't have the visibility that he needed. So I'm probably going to have a follow-up conversation where I bother Ken and understand like how in the coming months and like years after that conversation he had with Gil, like what did he do differently to internally sort of evangelize for like himself and for the work that he was doing. And that's a much like larger conversation. There's like easy like guerrilla ways to do it. When I'm working on little projects with Spiff, sometimes I'll just record like a Loom video and just drop it in a few Slack channels and just kind of show like prototypes and tests and like simple things that we've been working on, and do sort of like asynchronous show and tell. It could be that simple. It could be like a newsletter. It could be some formal kind of thing where you present, your work to stakeholders and all that. But unfortunately, the answer is it depends.
Thank you so much, Logan. That makes a ton of sense too. And I guess like you're saying, and we all think about, how do we make the feedback, not only do we hear it, but how do we make it internalized or visceral, right? Or part of what we do going forward, which isn't easy. I wanted to, we're gonna wrap up our time today. So I wanted to, again, thank our presenters, Ken and Logan and Gil, for the time you took to prepare these thoughts. And of course, the time you took today to share them with this group. We're going to, for the group, we're going to have, this is recorded. we're going to have it posted to the Product Hive YouTube channel, and you can review it as you as you'd like to. And we'll have also, as Gil mentioned, those career ladders or career those artifacts that he mentioned. I guess they're career ladders. We'll have those sent out to you guys through the Slack channel and even possibly email. So you can look out for those. And we're always the mentor team. If you're in the Product Hive Slack channel, there's the mentor channel, and we're always available there. So please go take a look there, answer any questions. Of course, I highly recommend everyone in this group, if you're not connected on LinkedIn or in the Slack channel with Logan, Ken, or Gil, go ahead and do that. So thank you again, guys, so much. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to attend today. And we hope your mentorship experience is phenomenal. Have an awesome, great day, everyone.